Okay, real talk. Forget everything you remember about Moria from the movies for a second. Forget the dark, the running.
You cannot pass!
The you shall not pass moment. We'll get there, I promise. But before any of that happened, there was this one guy standing at the edge of a still lake, looking at his own reflection. And what he saw in that water, that's where this whole thing starts. Actually, let me play you how it ends first, because it'll hit different once you know the whole story.
We cannot get out. We cannot get out. We hear drums. Drums in the deep.
That's the last thing anyone ever wrote from inside Moria. One guy running out of torch, running out of time, scratching those words into a book that nobody was going to read for another 25 years. I want to show you everything that happened between that lake and those words, because the gap between them, that's the whole tragedy of Khazad-dûm. And honestly, it's one of the most heartbreaking stories Tolkien ever wrote. Let's go back to the very beginning. So it all starts with one dwarf, Durin, the oldest of the 7 fathers of the dwarves. And I have to tell you the origin story of how dwarves even exist, because it's genuinely wild. There's this Vala, basically a god-tier craftsman named Aula. And Aula was so impatient waiting for the children of Ilúvatar to show up in the world that he just made his own people. In secret, 7 dwarves fashioned in a hidden workshop without asking anyone's permission. When Ilúvatar found out and confronted him, Aula didn't argue. He just picked up his hammer to destroy them.
I wanted someone to teach things to. Someone to share all of this with. I wasn't trying to replace you or go around you. I just couldn't wait anymore.
And right at that exact moment, hammer raised, the dwarves flinched. They cowered away from it. They begged for mercy. Because somewhere in the middle of that speech, Ilúvatar had quietly given them real life of their own.
You see, they're not just shapes you made. They're alive. They have will. Since you made them in the shadow of my own thought, I'll adopt them, but they sleep until my firstborn have awakened first.
So dwarves exist because one god was impatient and another chose mercy over justice. That's their whole foundation. Durin was the first to wake up at a place called Mount Gundabad in the Misty Mountains. And instead of just setting up camp right there, he walked, he explored. He was looking for the right place, and eventually he found it, a valley called Azanul Bazaar, at the foot of a mountain called Zirak Sigil, Silvertine in the common tongue. There was a lake there called the Mirrormere, and when Durin looked into it, he saw his reflection, but with a crown of stars around his head, like the lake itself was saying, "This one, this is the king."
Here. We build here, and we go deep. We don't stop.
They didn't stop, not for thousands of years. What they built wasn't a mine. It wasn't a city in any normal sense. It was a whole world under 3 mountains 40 miles wide, east to west. Halls big enough to march armies through. Pillars carved to look like stone trees, holding up the ceiling. Crystal lamps that burned for millennia. Shafts cut through the rock so actual sunlight could pour in from above. Water systems, forges, libraries, armories. And then, somewhere deep under Silvertine, they hit mithril. It's this metal that's lighter than steel but stronger. Absolutely beautiful to look at. One shirt of mithril rings was worth more than the entire Shire, and Khazad-dûm was the only place in Middle-earth that had it. This is the moment where dwarves go from impressive kingdom to the most important people on the planet. Everyone needs what they have, and that matters, because it's also what draws the first cracks. Here's something the movies kind of skip over. At their actual peak, the Dwarves and Elves were genuinely close friends. Not just we trade with each other close, like neighbors, people who worked side by side every day. In the Second Age, a group of elf craftsmen, called the Gwaith-i-Mírdain, basically the jewelsmiths, set up their own kingdom called Eregion, right next to Khazad-dûm's western side. Their head guy was a Noldoran elf named Celebrimbor, and the two peoples became actual neighbors, elves going in and out of the mountain, dwarves coming out to work with them. The friendship between Celebrimbor and a dwarf named Narvi became the most famous in all of Middle-earth. Their masterpiece together was the west gate of Khazad-dûm, the doors of Durin, carved in this material called Ithilden that's completely invisible by day, but appears in moonlight or starlight.
All right, it's done. You know what keeps hitting me? Neither of us could have built this alone. A dwarf and an elf. And it'll still be standing here when both of us are long gone.
The doors of Durin, Lord of Moria. Speak, friend, and enter. Two peoples, one gate. Honestly, that means more to me than the mithril.
And for a while, it genuinely was worth more. Galadriel herself was living in Aragon during these years. The whole region was this thriving mix of dwarf and elf culture, producing some of the most incredible craftwork Middle-earth had ever seen. This was the Golden Age, and it didn't last nearly long enough, because Sauron was already moving. Here's the thing about Sauron. At this point in the story, he's not leading armies yet. He's smarter than that. He shows up in disguise, calling himself Anatar, Lord of Gifts, claiming to be a messenger from the Valar, walks straight into Aragon, offers knowledge, craft secrets, ring-making techniques, and Celebrimbor, brilliant, passionate, a little too trusting, welcomes him in. They work together for years. The Rings of Power get made, 19 of them. It's one of the greatest collaborations in the history of Middle-earth. And then, in secret, Sauron goes to Mount Doom, makes the One Ring, and puts it on. The elves felt it immediately, this presence sliding into their minds, this will that wasn't theirs, and in that moment they understood exactly what he'd done and what they'd helped him do.
He used us. Get the three out. Right now. Don't let him anywhere near them. Go.
Celebrimbor, when he finds out what you did, he'll come for you personally. You know what he'll...
Yeah, I know. Go.
Sauron came with an army and destroyed Aragon completely. Celebrimbor was captured, tortured for information on where the three were hidden, executed. Sauron literally used his body as a war banner while marching to the next battle. The elves who survived fled to Khazad-dûm for shelter, and the dwarves who still had their gates and their strength hit Sauron's army from behind to let them through, then gave the order.
Get every last one of them inside, then seal it. Seal it now.
The gates slammed shut. Sauron threw everything he had at those gates, couldn't crack them. The mountain was too deep, the dwarves too stubborn, but the failure stuck with him. From that point on, there was a standing order going out to every orc commander under his command.
Harass the dwarves, wherever they are. Don't let them rest.
The region was gone. The friendship was over. Khazad-dûm sealed itself from the outside world, and the dwarves dug deeper. But here's something the story usually skips over, and it matters for understanding the fall. By the time we reach Tate 1980, Khazad-dûm is already not what it used to be. After Sauron sealed them off from the outside world at the end of the Second Age, the population slowly started to thin. No more elf neighbors, no more trade routes, just the mountain and the mithril, and Sauron's orcs constantly pressing at their borders. The wealth kept growing. They were mining deeper than ever, but the people were dwindling. Khazad-dûm was rich and shrinking at the same time, a kingdom hollowing out from the inside even as its treasuries filled up. That's the real context for what happens next. This isn't a thriving empire that gets ambushed out of nowhere. This is a kingdom that's been slowly bleeding for centuries and then makes one final, fatal mistake. This is the part of the story I keep coming back to. More than 1,000 years go by. The Third Age begins. Khazad-dûm is still lit, still full of people, still running. But the mithril veins are getting harder to reach. The easy ore is gone, so the miners do what they've always done. They follow the seam deeper.
Vein goes down. Deeper than we've gone before. Yeah, I know, but the ore's there. That's the job. We go after it.
In Tay 1980, they dig too deep. I want to sit with that phrase for a second because it sounds like a fairy tale warning. Don't be greedy, don't go too far. But that's not really what happened. The dwarves weren't being reckless. They were doing exactly what they'd always done, following the ore. That's their whole civilization. The drive to go deeper, to find what's hidden, to build further down than anyone thought possible. Their greatest strength. And it's that strength, not some moral failure that killed them. Because down there, below everything they'd built over thousands of years, something was sleeping. One of Morgoth's Balrogs, a creature of shadow and fire that had been hiding in the dark since before the sun existed. It had been there since before Khazad-dûm was founded, before the stars were named. It was just waiting, and then a wall cracked. The air changed, and one miner held his torch up into the new darkness ahead of him.
Put out the torches. Put them all out. Don't let it see the...
Already too late. It killed King Durin 6 that same year. His son Nain the Furt took command, rallied what forces were left, tried to hold the mountain against something that had existed before history began.
We hold the upper halls. We don't give it the gates. Our fathers built every single stone in this place. We do not run.
He was killed the following year, 1981. After that, it was done. The dwarves fled. Thousands of years of work, culture, craft, everything they'd built, just abandoned. The crystal lamps that had been burning for millennia went out, one by one, every carved hall and pillar, swallowed by the kind of silence that doesn't end. Not Khazad-dûm anymore. Moria now, the Black Pit. After the dwarves left in TA 1981, Moria sat completely empty for almost 500 years. Just the Balrog, alone, in the dark. 5 centuries of silence in those enormous halls, miles of carved corridors, empty forge rooms, cold bridges over bottomless chasms, and one ancient terrible thing wandering through all of it by itself. Around TI 2480, Sauron starts using Moria as a military stronghold, filling it with orcs. And weirdly, the orcs and the Balrog just coexisted. The orcs didn't control it, nobody controlled it, but it didn't wipe them out either. It stayed in the deep levels. They lived up top, just a really tense, unspoken arrangement. By Tay 2790, a new problem shows up. Thror, former king under the mountain, decides to just walk into Moria alone to look at his old home, just him and one companion. The orc leader Azog captured him at the gates, executed him, carved his own name into the severed head, and threw it back to Thror's companion as a message. That message started a war.
9 years. We give ourselves 9 years of war if that's what it takes. Every orc hold in the Misty Mountains, every single one. And then Moria.
It took exactly that. 9 years of war, burning through every orc stronghold in the mountains. And in TA 2799, it ended right where it had to, outside Moria's eastern gate, the Battle of Azanul-Bazar. Thousands of orcs cut down. Azog himself came out and killed 9 in single combat, and then 9's son, young Dain Ironfoot, ran up the steps after him and took his head. The dwarves had won. And Thrain wanted to push straight through those gates and take Moria back on the spot. Dain stopped him. Dain, who'd actually looked through the gate, who'd seen what was still in there.
You are the father of our people, and we have bled for you, and we do it again. But we are not going in there. You are not going in there. I'm the only one who looked through that gate, beyond the shadow. It's still in there. Durin's bane, waiting. The world has to change first. Some power beyond ours has to come before Durin's folk walk in Moria again.
That's not a speech. That's just a man being honest about what he saw. So the dwarves walked away from those gates again. And if you're following along, subscribe, because what comes next is the part that actually breaks me. And yet, nearly 2 centuries pass, The dwarves reclaim Erebor from Smaug. Things are looking better than they have in ages. But there's this shadow sitting over Erebor, a restlessness, a feeling like what they've built isn't quite enough, like somewhere in the dark, their real home is still waiting. Balin felt it most. If you've seen The Hobbit, you know Balin. Warm, wise, white-beard, always looking out for the others. He'd survived Smaug, he'd survived Azanulbizar. He knew exactly what Moria was, and he still called a meeting.
I know what Dain said. I was standing right there when he said it. But our fathers built Khazad-dûm, not the orcs, not whatever's in the deep levels. Our fathers made every hall, every pillar, every lamp in that place. It's still ours.
But Durin's bane is still in there.
Whatever it is, it's been in the deep levels for nearly 1,000 years and hasn't been seen since. We stay above. We clear the orcs. We rebuild, and we go home. There's mithril in those halls, Durin's axe. Our whole history just sitting there in the dark, waiting for someone to come back for it. I'm going. Who's with me?
They went. TA 2989. Thousands of them, Lord Owen among them, both veterans of Thorin's company, marching back into Moria against King Dain's wishes. Dain gave reluctant permission, but he wasn't happy about it. Here's the thing though, it worked. At first, they pushed the orcs back from the eastern gate, lost only one dwarf, Floy, before they'd even made it as far as the first hall, set up a base in the 21st hall, and then they found mithril deposits, Durin's axe, a silver helm that might have been Durin's actual crown. Balin walked into the chamber of Mazarbul and sat down.
Write it down, Ori.
Every word, my lord.
We came back. After 1,000 years, we actually came back.
For 5 years, the colony thrived. They sent letters back to Erebor, progress reports, treasure lists, requests for more settlers. People back home were reading those letters by firelight, probably starting to think about packing their bags. And then November 10th, year 2994, Balin went alone to look at the Mirrormere, the same lake where Durin had first seen himself as king, where this whole story started. He went by himself. An orc archer was hiding behind a rock, one arrow. That's it. That's how it ends for Balin, Lord of Moria. Not in some great battle, not at a famous bridge, behind a rock, by a lake, alone. After that, more orcs poured in up the Silverlode. Then more. The dwarves fell back choke point by choke point. Frar, Loni, Nali died at the bridge so the others could retreat. Oni led a group toward the western gate. The Watcher in the water got him, pulled him under. Only 4 of his group made it back. Nowhere left to go. The last survivors locked themselves in the chamber of Mazarbul, Balin's own hall, barred the doors, and waited. Ori sat down at the table, opened the book of Mazarbul, and wrote,
We cannot get out. We cannot get out. They have taken the bridge and the second hall. Frar and Loni and Nali fell there bravely. The pool is up to the wall at Westgate. The Watcher in the water took Oin. We cannot get out. The end comes soon. We hear drums. Drums in the deep.
That was the last thing anyone heard from Balin's colony. 25 years later, just 25, the Fellowship of the Ring walked through those same western doors. Gimli was there, Balin's first cousin, close enough that Tolkien just calls them cousins outright. He'd known Ori. He'd known Owen, his own uncle. He'd known basically everyone in that colony, and he had no idea what had happened. Nobody did. The letters had stopped, and people at Erebor told themselves maybe the roots were disrupted. Maybe they'd gone deeper. Gimli had actually suggested going through Moria himself. He wanted to see Balin. When they found the chamber of Mazarbul, when Gandalf picked up the book and started reading, his voice changing as the pages went further in.
They have taken the 21st hall. Balin is now Lord of Moria. Frar and Loni and Nali fell there. Drums in the deep, we cannot get out.
Tolkien doesn't describe how Gimli looked, doesn't give him a line, just writes that he wept, and then the orcs came. They ran, they fought. They made it to the bridge of Khazad-dûm, that narrow, unrailed span the dwarves had built as a choke point, so any enemy who made it that far would face them one at a time. And then the Balrog came, the same thing that had woken up 1,000 years ago and ended everything, still there, still waiting, exactly where Dain had said. Gandalf faced it, planted his staff, looked at the thing everyone had been running from for 1,000 years, and didn't run.
You cannot pass. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun. Go back to the shadow. You shall not pass.
He broke the bridge, the Balrog fell, Gandalf fell with it. He survived, but that's a whole nother video. What matters is what that moment was. Two beings both older than the sun, both Maiar, facing each other in the halls Durin built in the dark. One had been sleeping there since before Khazad-dûm existed. The other walked in to stop it. After that, Moria went quiet again. So why does this story hit so hard? Because Tolkien didn't write a simple "don't be greedy" fable. The dwarves weren't punished for being evil or arrogant. They built something genuinely extraordinary. They were brave enough to try to take it back twice. Balin's expedition wasn't stupid. It was just doomed by something bigger than any amount of courage could fix. The Balrog had been there since before the sun existed. Nothing the dwarves could have done would have changed what happened when they dug deep enough to wake it. And yet they kept coming back. They fought a 9-year war just to stand outside those gates again. Balin led thousands of people back in. Gimli walked through Moria, knowing exactly what might be in there. That's not greed, that's grief. That very specific pain of having something taken from you, something your whole culture was built around, and never being able to fully accept that it's gone. The name Moria, the Black Pit, was given by the elves after the dwarves were driven out. It stuck because it fit, because that's what it had become. But the better name is still the old one, Khazad-dûm, the Dwarf. That name still carries something. The memory of light and craft and a people who built the most magnificent place in the world, right there in the dark, under the mountains, where no one else would even think to look. If you want more deep dives like this, subscribe. There's a lot more of Middle-earth left to cover.